Hello, everybody. How you doing? It's Gus Tucker, and it's Financial Freedom Fridays. I'm excited to be here with you today, and we're going to have a great conversation. Have you ever had somebody, or ever heard this? If you've been around the church at all, you've heard somebody say, a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. I say that's great. You know, that's exciting. In America, though, to be honest with you, less than a third of people, first generation, get an inheritance. So to give one to your children's children is even rarer. So my question always is, how are you going to do that? And do you have the financial tools in place to make that happen? And so today we're going to have our first conversation about estate planning. And it's one of the 8 financial breakthroughs in our best-selling book. And it's about your legacy. And it's not just about your assets, but it's also about the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that you pass on to the next generation. So let's get into it. So the key to all of this is you have to have a game plan. Okay? You have to have a game plan. And that starts with understanding what your goals are, putting all your information together in one place, and then putting together a plan that really looks at your needs, your options, and then we recommend a plan to you, or whatever professional you're working with was going to do some version of this, and then you're going to execute the plan. And then you're going to meet on a regular basis, because if you're running a business and executing a plan, then there's a great possibility that that plan will need to be updated based on changes that you make and strategies that you're employing. Okay? So these are just some of the products and solutions we have. Basically, if it has something to do with money, someone in our network we can connect you with to get that question answered for you. If it's got anything to do with money, we've got someone in our network that we can connect you to get that happening. Our goal is to provide not only for people of color, but because I happen to be one, and my experience has been as a person of color, we don't always have access to all these resources, but we're no respecter of person. Our goal is to help every human being that we can have the best possible life that they can. Okay? So if you're seeing this, hey, let's talk. So we're going to get you through financial stability, where your money and month end up together. We're going to get you to security, where you have a multiple months money set aside for a contingency plan, where you're out of debt and you've got that set aside. And financial abundance is you have that, you have the money set aside. You also have assets that are throwing off money to you so you can have a perpetual income. Wealth is not only a matter of how much, but how long. How long can you stop working to create income and still maintain your lifestyle? Our goal is to have that be an ongoing thing, where the wealthiest person is the person. It's not how much money they have, but how long can they maintain their lifestyle at whatever level they see desirable. How long can they maintain that lifestyle without having to work? Okay. So these are our 8 financial breakthroughs. We're over here on legacy and succession plan. So you can go back through the YouTube channel, Wisdom Financial Group channel, or you can go back on the blackdoctor.org and go back. And I'm going to be relabeling these by these different breakthroughs, so you can go straight to the one that you're interested in and begin to drill down on them. Now, these are initial conversations. We're going to bring guests on to really dive down and get into more detail in each one of these. But we're going to be talking about legacy this week, and then succession planning next week. So we have a best-selling book on Amazon. It's called 8 Financial Breakthroughs. And if you schedule a free financial discovery, we'll send you a book. And how to schedule a discovery will be at the end of our time together. You can hit a QR code and schedule that. These are classes that we're putting together. They'll be available on our website. Now, you guys are somewhere on your financial timeline. You're either in the accumulation phase, where you're building income and assets and building towards financial independence. And as you're in that accumulation phase, do you know what your financial independence number is? Was chatting with a young lady who's 10 years away from retirement, and she told me amount that she had in her 401k. I said, great, that's awesome. But I said, but do you know what your financial independence number is? And she said, what's that? And then as we talked, and we looked at the income that she wants to retire on in the number of years she wants to retire, we saw we had some more work to do to help her to hit that goal. The earlier on you can nail down these numbers, the longer it gives you to plan. Okay. Distribution is when you're 5 years or less into retirement, and you're really thinking about not growing your money now, but how am I going to distribute it so I don't run out of money? Okay. So those are kind of the two areas. Planning is bringing the future into the present. Okay. You don't know exactly what's going to be happening in the future, but you have some idea. And the more time you spend thinking about that, what that future is going to look like, and bringing that into the present, the better your future is going to be. Because you have to send into the future the resources you want that are going to take care of you when you get there. Does that make sense? Okay. So, your legacy conversation. What does your legacy mean to you? Okay, what does your legacy mean to you? Does it mean money? Does it mean assets like businesses, real estate, land, insurance? Does it mean experiences like travel or going to events? Is it relationships with your family, with other people? What does your legacy mean to you? What does legacy mean to you? What is it you're really trying to leave to the next generation? It says a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, but not without proper documentation. Not without the proper documentation. And maybe you've heard this, maybe you haven't, but documentation beats conversation every day. You can be talking about whatever, but do you have it documented, what it is you're wanting to do? Okay, what documents do I need to put together this estate plan? So we're going to talk about some basic documents that you need to have in place as a part of your estate plan. And we're going to talk each one a little bit as to why. So you need a will, financial power of attorney, an advanced healthcare directive or a living will. You need health insurance, portability, and accountability where someone can get access to your medical records. And then you need a trust. And there are two kinds of trust. Generally speaking, there are hundreds of different kinds of trust. But at the top, the big top, they're revocable and irrevocable. Okay, revocable you can change. Irrevocable you can't. And then there's something called an ILIT, an insurance life insurance trust. Now you said there were 6 documents. I see a will, financial power of attorney, healthcare, insurance, revocable. Some states are now also having a mental health power of attorney, which kind of folds under that healthcare directive. Okay, so that's a possible another document you may want to have depending on your state. Okay. Okay, a will. What is a will? A will is a legal document that outlines how a person's assets should be distributed after their death. It names an executor that will handle their estate and can appoint guardians for minor children. So this person who's an executor is very important. So you have to think about who that person is going to be that's going to be the executor of their will. They should be already making good decisions in their life today. Don't choose somebody because they're your favorite person or you just like them, but look at their life and look at how they make decisions. And do you want those decisions to be managing your estate when you're gone? Okay? Because that's the decision-making process that you're putting into place. Now, 4 legal terms you ought to know. The testator is the person who creates a will. That's the person who creates the will. The executor is the person that the testator appoints to carry out their will. Beneficiaries, these are the people or the organization or organizations that are left the bequest, that are left the resources, cash, gifts, or other assets by you, the testator. Now, what is probate? Probate is the judicial process whereby a will is proved in a court of law and accepted as a valid public document that is the true last testament of the deceased. Okay? And this is where probate is where people can challenge the will. No, this person really didn't want this, they wanted that. Now I've got proof of it. And that's where you get the big fight. Okay? And that's why we're going to talk about the purpose of maybe a trust versus a will, some pros and cons. So the pro about a will is pretty easy to put together and it's relatively inexpensive to do. It's got a clear distribution of assets and guardianship of children. And you can modify it, cancel it, all through your lifetime. But here's the bad part. It's subject to probate. Probate is basically a lawsuit you're filing against yourself because you didn't have a trust. And that legal process can be very lengthy and costly. Do you know Michael Jackson's estate is still in probate? How long has he been gone? It's cost his family tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. It doesn't avoid estate taxes. Having a will doesn't help you with your taxes. And if a person becomes incapacitated, it doesn't really help that person. Also, a will is typically pretty simple, and it'll just leave assets to people lump sum, which may or may not be the best thing for them. Okay? But the will, done correctly, is an orderly way to have your assets go to your beneficiaries. The other con about is subject to probate, a public legal process. Don't let that slide by. It's a public legal process. If you have a will, anyone could go down and look at the documents that are filed and look at exactly what you left to each person. And that's where people who are don't have your family's best interest at heart try to contact them and con them out of what they got. Okay? So it's a very public process. That's a will. Next is a financial power of attorney, POA. A financial power of attorney is a legal document that grants a trusted agent the authority to act on your behalf, the principal agent. So you're the principal agent, okay? And then it allows a trusted agent to act on your behalf. The former is also referred to as the attorney in fact, while the principal agent is the person who grants the authority. So what does that mean? Let's say something happens to you and you're incapacitated, or you got a brain injury, or you're very sick and you can't make financial decisions. This power of attorney gives someone access to your money to act in your best interest, to make decisions for you like you would if you were here. If you don't have this person and something happens to you, it's an issue. Okay? Now, there's a person who just recently got indicted, a very high profile person, and they've been put into jail, and they've got to stay in jail till they stand trial, which might be a year or more or so. Are any financial transactions going to happen in that person's life in the next year? And that's why they paid off some real estate, did some other things. But someone in their life is going to have a financial power of attorney to carry on their financial life while they can't. This is a very important document, financial power of attorney. For married people, usually this is your spouse because their name is on the accounts with you. Okay? But this is something you really need to think about. Okay? This financial power of attorney. Okay? And be careful because it can be misused. That's one of the cons. It can be misused. Okay, so you got a will, then a financial power of attorney, then the advanced healthcare directive, a living will. Okay, this outlines your preferences for medical care if you're unable to make decisions due to incapacity or illness. Okay, whatever your medical preferences are in terms of how you're going to be treated medically, especially in end of life situations, it really will help your family because they don't have to make those decisions. You've already made them. Okay, and along with the healthcare power of attorney, it can help someone make decisions for you in terms of your care. Okay, and that's the healthcare power of attorney for more comprehensive decisions. Okay, not just end of life decisions, but should they operate or not, or this kind of operation, or what in what order should they do things. Okay, but it's something you need to really consider. Is this advanced healthcare directive, and then the healthcare power of attorney. Okay, what is that? It's a legal document that lets you choose who you want as your medical decision maker. Someone who knows your personal values and what you want from medical care. In a medical emergency, your medical decision maker can speak for you if you can't speak for yourself. And your medical decision maker takes control of your health decisions only when a doctor says you're not able to speak for yourself. Before that time and when you're recovering, you make all your medical decisions. Now, parents, how many of you parents have children that are 18 years old or higher or older, but they are not married? If they go into a situation where they can't make medical decisions for themselves because something happened, and you do not have a healthcare power of attorney, can you go up to the hospital, talk to the doctor, and make decisions for your son or daughter that's laying there on that bed? The answer is no, because they're an adult. And if they haven't legally given that right to someone else, they've essentially given that right to the hospital and the doctors to make that decision for you. So if you are 18 years of age or older, or you have a child that's 18 years or older, you need to have this healthcare power of attorney. Because what if something happens and they can't make those decisions for themselves? Okay? It's important. Okay? Think about that. These issues come up and they happen. You could probably think of things in your family's life where it's happened. You need to get a healthcare power of attorney. Okay, the trust. And we're going to talk about the irrevocable or living trust, which allows you to manage your assets during your lifetime and distribute them after death. Okay, while you're alive, you retain the right to change it. Okay, now why is this good? One, it avoids probate. This is a private matter now. No one can pry inside your estate and see what you left your family. So it has privacy. It also has for incapacity, because it's got these other documents in it. If something should happen to you, the trust can manage your assets if you become incapacitated. Okay? So your estate plan and your trust has those documents I just mentioned as a part of it. Okay? Now, irrevocable trust doesn't help you when it comes to estate taxes. Okay? And not so much when it comes to asset protection. But it does allow you, it avoids probate. It's a private matter. It's not easily contested. You can also use the living trust to manage assets. What do I mean by that? A will basically just delivers. Let's say you left someone $1 million. A will basically delivers the $1 million to them on day one. But if you had a trust, you could say, hey, it's $1 million in here, but they can't get it until they're a certain age. They can't get it until they've got attained a certain education level. Or they won't get it if they start certain habits or lifestyle activities that you wouldn't support. Okay. You're only going to give so much out every year. You can put all those things in a trust, and it has to be carried out by the person who's executing your trust. Does that make sense? So that's some of the benefits it has over a will, where it just will deliver the lump sum to people. Okay. So I'm going to flip back here real quick. A will, okay, financial power of attorney, healthcare directive, the healthcare power of attorney, which is the part of this HIPAA Act, and the living trust. Those are the documents. The will, financial power of attorney, advanced healthcare directive for end-of-life situations, and healthcare power of attorney to help you make medical decisions. And in some states, you might need a mental health care power of attorney. So check your state laws on that. And then a revocable trust or living trust. Okay. This is a basic package to begin to actually do what that verse in Proverbs says, to leave an inheritance to your children's children. This is the documentation you need to have in place so you can do that. Now, what are some more advanced concepts? Okay. An irrevocable life insurance trust. You guys ever heard of like the Rockefellers? There's a book out called What Would the Rockefellers Do? Well, the Rockefellers and other families, wealthy families, use an irrevocable life insurance trust to create a situation that will perpetuate income for multiple generations. Okay. So what are some benefits? Tax reduction. The policy proceeds are paid to the trust, which removes them from the insured's estate and reduces the size of the taxable estate of that person. Every state and federal, they have laws on estate tax. The law might be we don't have an estate tax, but many states do have a state estate tax. And then there's a federal estate tax. You need to understand what those are where you live and what the limits are. An irrevocable trust can protect the assets from creditors and from the courts. There's a person that, depending on which side of the aisle you were on, his name was O.J. Simpson, and you remember he had several lawsuits against his estate. And one of the reasons, aside from being domiciled or living in Florida, having certain trusts in place allowed him to protect his assets from the courts. Okay. So, man, you need to sit with a good attorney and really understand what your options are. Beneficiary protection. The trust can protect beneficiaries from wasting their payouts. That's some of the specificity that we were talking about that you can provide. You can choose professional trustees. Like a popular one in the city I'm in Chicago, is called Northern Trust. You ever see those places where it's so-and-so bank and trust? Well, that bank has trust officers that work with people who have estates that they want the bank to actually manage those for them. Okay? But if you get an ILIT, you need to be sure about it, because you can't change or terminate the trust once it's created. And you don't have control over the assets anymore. And that's why you get some of the tax and other benefits. But it's something to consider, and have an attorney explain to you the pluses and minuses of it and what role it might play in your estate. So and then there are irrevocable trusts that aren't life insurance trusts, that you could put other assets in, real estates, businesses, other assets, and they can help you with tax planning, because assets in an irrevocable trust are not included in your taxable estate. So you can help avoid estate taxes. It also provides some asset protection from creditors and lawsuits, because inside of a trust, the trust is a legal person. Just like I'm a legal person with my name, social security number, and everything. A trust is a legal person. So if the trust owns an asset and you don't, even though you may control that asset, you don't own it, So if somebody sues you, you don't own that asset. The trust does, because that's a legal person. So you really want to understand this whole asset protection and tax planning. Get with a good attorney so they can walk you through this, okay? Because this is how the wealthy, they don't own anything, but they control things and they protect their assets through these trusts. So what's your homework? Have you set up your estate planning documents? Why or why not? What are you waiting for? This is something you have to do before you need it. Because when you need it, it won't be there. Okay? Are you aware, do you understand the differences between an irrevocable and irrevocable trust? Which one would be better for you? You need to get with an attorney and talk about it. You've got to invest time to plan your estate and think about it. You want to have money. Well, having money is a responsibility, and it's going to take time to plan for. Do you have someone who is going to administer your trust? Do they understand what their responsibilities are? Do you understand what their responsibilities are, and do they? Do you have an estate planning attorney? Part of your homework is to make that happen. If you don't, book an appointment with a licensed financial professional that I'm sure they have that relationship. They can introduce you to them and walk with you through that process, okay? So before anything else, preparation is the key to success. We got to prepare to succeed, okay? The only place success comes before work is in the dictionary, okay? It's the only place success comes before work is in the dictionary. Legacy is not what I did for myself, but it's what I'm doing for the next generation, okay? The reason you don't know your great-great-grandfather or your great-great-great-grandfather is they didn't leave you anything in their estate. If they had left you something, you'd know their name. Are people going to know your name and your family? We'll see. So again, schedule a free financial discovery and get a book. It's an Amazon bestseller. It's got some really good stuff in it. And if you want to sit down with a financial professional, hit this QR code and book a time where we can sit down and figure out what goals do you have, what are you trying to accomplish, and let's get a plan in place to make that happen. You're not going to be successful financially by accident. You're not going to pass on your estate with an estate plan by accident. It's going to take planning. That's why it's called an estate plan. An estate plan. So hit the QR code, book at least a half an hour so we can chat about what your goals are and help you move down the road. So hey, like and subscribe. Share this broadcast with other people. Get into this information because it can make a difference for you and for your family. Hey, it's been great chatting with you. You guys have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. All right? Bye-bye.